There are two things I look for in a man. On a recent date, the guy across from me leaned in and said, "I don't know what you women want. You're all so different." It was a strange time for me. I think this idea that women are strange comes up a lot between men. You know, talk at the water cooler. But it was the first time someone had said something like that to me. And it made me wonder. Is that true? It depends. When I first started dating when I was in my 20s, I knew exactly what I wanted in a partner: chemistry, charm, and a general hotness factor. I was usually drawn to people with a lot of energy, like guys who could do a lot, get along with others well, look good, and make me feel attracted. I couldn't believe it. I would never even notice the shy guy. I wanted to fall in love with a person who was bigger than life. I still want this in some way. As I learned more about relationships, I understood that this theory was one-dimensional and didn't get me what I wanted. I kept getting involved with interesting guys who didn't treat me well in the long run. See, my first way of thinking about the guy was based on who he was and had nothing to do with how he treated me. The man of my dreams turned into the man of my worst fears very quickly. Since then, I've learned that how a guy treats me is more important than who he is by himself. I'm not going to say that I speak for all women. I only know how my views on love have changed. When I look back, though, I can say with certainty that what I want now is what I wanted back then. I just didn't know it or have the words to say it. But I do now. It has two parts. I look for them early in the morning and often. This standard has helped me quickly get rid of the losers and find great guys. Women, let's not believe the lie that there aren't any good guys out there. We don't lack choices, what we lack is a way to find them. Here is mine. At the beginning of a relationship, I look for someone who is emotionally smart and emotionally available. Let's look at how these work in real life. Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability and potential to care for oneself and others. Who is responsible for what? I could have called this point maturity, but some people use that word without knowing what it means. I'll tell you what it is: it's ownership. Take responsibility for your life, deeds, and results. When a man doesn't act right and I tell him so, I watch how he responds. Is it an excuse or responsibility? For example, he shows up very late, cancels a half hour ahead of time, or answers call and texts at a snail's pace. If he gives a bunch of reasons when any of these things happen, he doesn't have emotional intelligence. When someone gives me an excuse, they think they're explaining why they did what they did, but what they're doing is showing me that they can't see how their actions affect other people. You might have a good reason, like a family problem, a lot of work, or the fact that you took 3 trains to get to me. All valid. But keep in mind that even though you have your reasons, I have my reality, which is that you miss the point. Emotionally wise people don't make excuses for their mistakes. Instead, they take responsibility for how their actions affected the lives of others. What do you know? You're right. Lately, it takes me longer to answer. I know that what I said might have made it seem like I don't care about you, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Now that I know you care about this, I will try to do a better job. That's what it means to own something. It's also so hot. Fills a need that can be seen. He doesn't wait for permission to help when he sees a need. When I'm too busy at work to make lunch, he postmates it to me. When he sees that my bathroom doesn't have enough shelves, he builds or buys me one. He crosses the street to help an old woman who is having trouble carrying her bags. Part of being emotionally intelligent is being able to look outside of yourself to see what other people need and then act to meet those needs. One of the best things about being in a relationship is having a guy who can see my wants and meet them. It makes me feel looked after and safe. Comfortable with how other people feel. I'm an even-keeled person. But occasionally, I get caught up in highs and lows, whether they are small frustrations or big losses. I need to be able to cry, to fully feel and share my feelings, and for my partner to give me space in that moment. Not to laugh it off in a weird way. Not to change the subject to try to get your attention away. Temporarily or permanently, not to run away. To hold me at that moment without any plans. In these situations, a man who knows how to deal with his feelings knows to ask, "What do you need from me right now?" Afterward, to do it. Willingness to talk about tough topics. No one likes fighting, but it's an important part of any relationship. I'm looking for a man who can both start bold talks and listen to them without getting angry. When he is bothered by something, he tells me about it clearly and directly. When I talk to him about something that bothers me, he listens quietly and tries to help. He doesn't get angry, defend himself, or shut down. An emotionally intelligent person knows that brave talks are needed for each person to grow and for the relationship to get stronger. The strength of any relationship depends on how willing people are to have hard talks. The ability to bounce back from hard times. Adversity is guaranteed, just like war. I want to know how a man deals with hard things. It can be hard to see how this will work right away, but if I ask the right questions, I can get a good idea quickly. I pay close attention to what he shares and what makes him most happy. Is it the times at the top of the mountain or the hard work it took to get there? Does he feel better about the things he owns or the problems he solved? Does he only talk about the best parts of his week and avoid the raw, real stuff? Now let's look at what he does. How does he act when things don't go his way? If he has a hard week at work and pulls away, I know that he will only be there for me when things are going well. That's so boring. If, on the other hand, he puts more effort into the relationship during that hard week, I'll know he's strong and can handle his or my problems. So sexy. Emotional availability. Being emotionally available means being able to make room for other people. Not using me too as a communication tool. For such a bad habit, it's shocking how little people know about how it will always end in a crash. Breaking news: not every talk needs to be about you. When I'm telling someone about my day or something cool I did, and they stop me in the middle of my story to tell me about a similar thing that happened to them, it's the worst thing that could happen. We're still talking about them 5 minutes later, and I'm sitting there thinking, what about me and my story, dude? This kind of person can't be interested in you because all they can think about is themselves. Their minds are full of homes named me, and I. No one else can live on the block. The good news is that you can tell right away if someone has this habit. When someone does this to me, I immediately start writing their obituary. From my dating life, of course, I'm not going to kill them. A mentally open man can let other people talk. This means you shouldn't steal someone else's story, try to outdo them, or always feel like you must relate to things. Instead, he lets the other person finish their story, asks follow-up questions, and becomes interested in the person in front of him. After times of closeness, leans in. Someone smart once told me that telling the truth is the currency of closeness. When I tell you something, I'm setting the foundation for a closer relationship, which you can build on by doing the same. I've always been confused by the kind of person who pulls away after a moment of closeness, whether physical or mental. Their texts turn into a game of how few words can I type? Their phone calls stop coming as often. Keep in mind that I'm not talking about someone who isn't interested, even though their actions look the same on the outside. I'm talking about the person who is crazy about you but won't talk to you after you told them something. By their acts, this person shows that they are not able to keep a friendship with someone who knows them well. It's worry. Fear of being recognized. Or to be more precise, the fear of being known and then being turned down. You can't turn me down if you don't know who I am. It keeps you safe. I'm drawn to guys who, after getting close, come back stronger and more present, not weaker. Men who lean toward closeness are aware of the fear and risk that comes with it but choose to move forward anyway. That takes guts. Investments that keep going up. As the partnership goes on, an emotionally available guy will spend more time, money, and energy on me. We all know things that are the opposite. Hot and cold man. The guy who pursues and pursues, but then stops or starts sending 3-word texts suddenly after a month. 1 step forward, 3,000 steps back. This is so ugly it's not even funny. This shows that the person doesn't have room for another person in their life. You can't count on them to be the same, in love or other ways. Emotionally open men don't do that. Over time, they put more and more money into the business. The more I keep looking for you, the better it gets. This is the message that their deeds send. And because they stay the same, I can trust my growing feelings for them. Likes me for who I am, not just how I make him feel. When someone makes room for you, they make room for all of you, not just the happy, carefree parts that make them feel good. I love guys who can see the good in everything. And when I'm bad, don't leave just because it's not making them feel good anymore. Too many people think that loving someone is the same as liking how they make them feel. How does he react when I say things I want that are different from what he wants? Does he choose between what he wants and what I want willingly, or does he stop loving me? If it's the second one, he didn't love me to begin with, he just liked how I made him feel, and now that I'm not making him feel good anymore, he breaks up with me. It comes down to greed, which is where the emotionally absent start. True love is when you love someone for who they are, not for what they can do for you. It's not a business deal. It comes from a sincere respect for the other person. This can only be done by someone who is mentally open. In short, emotional intelligence means I care about you. Emotional flexibility means that I can make room for you. Both are important. It's a problem if you can take care of me but don't make room for me in your life. If you make room for me but don't know what to do with me when I'm there, that's also a problem. To make things work, you need to be both emotionally smart and emotionally available. Lacks on either side can't be made up for by teamwork. That is, in the long run, smile. And why do I look for these things in the beginning? The first time you meet someone is the best indicator of what they will do in the future. Not what they said. Or thoughts. Not at all what I thought their untapped ability would be like in a fairy tale. If someone is mentally intelligent and approachable when it doesn't matter much, they will likely be the same when it does. I understand that my use of the word emotional may have made some of you feel bad. You might be thinking that men don't have feelings. Another woman who wants to turn guys into women. That is the furthest thing from the truth. What I mean is that I like men who are strong enough to handle problems. Who doesn't back down when things get hard. Who can be present and ready in a place where they feel uncomfortable. Men who are old enough to set themselves apart from me, to be open to self-reflection, to want to grow with themselves and others, and to think that the best form of themselves is still to come. This is what emotional intelligence and being emotionally available are all about. It's not sitting on the couch and watching Hallmark movies. It's being there for each other when things get hard. I can't think of anything a man can have that is better or more valuable. Because sooner or later, things will get hard, harder than you or I could ever imagine. Out of the blue, I lost my job. A sudden change in money. The doctor gave me bad news. The last thing I want is for someone to ignore or confuse me, try to tell me why I should be happy, or just leave. Someone who can't handle the trouble with me. Because when bad things happen, the only thing worse than being single is being in a relationship alone.